Welcome everyone. This is Becky from TechSoup. I'd like to welcome you today to joining us for the Microsoft Software Assurance Upgrades and More webinar. We're going to get started right now, and I just want to go through a little bit of housekeeping before we get into the actual content of the webinar. And I will go ahead and tell you a little bit about ReadyTalk if this is your first time joining us. You can chat in the chat box that you see in the bottom side of your screen. You can raise your hand if you have a question. You're welcome to just put those questions right in the chat box for us as well. If you lose your internet connection, please reconnect using the confirmation email link that you received when you registered. And you can also call ReadyTalk support if you have any issues. Your audio will play through your computer speakers. Obviously, if you're not hearing this, you probably will be messaging us to ask how you can listen. And there is also an optional call-in number if you need that, which we can put out to the group via chat if anybody needs to dial in that way. Also, just to let you know that you are being recorded today. We do this so that we can have a nice archive of all of these events so that people who aren't able to join us are able to find them later at TechSoup.org/go/webinars. You will receive a link to this recording, the slides, and any resources discussed after the webinar is over, either later today or sometime tomorrow. If you're on Twitter and want to talk about this event, feel free to tweet out using the hashtag #TechSoup. With that, I'll go ahead and get us started. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our presenters here. So I, again, am Becky Wiegand. I'm an editor here at TechSoup, and I'll be facilitating our call today. We also have with us Gregor Knights. He is a product manager at Microsoft who works in their software assurance division. So he'll be speaking to us with quite a bit of expertise about his experience working with software assurance and seeing that organizations get that. We'll also be joined by Cameron Jones, who is a product manager here at TechSoup and helps manage our Microsoft donation program. You will see folks assisting in the chat, both Gretchen Dio from Microsoft, William from TechSoup, and also Brenda from TechSoup, whose name I forgot to put on the slide. So with that, I'll go ahead and walk us through our agenda. Again, if you have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat box throughout the webinar, and we'll be capturing those for the Q&A at the end. We'll start off with a basic introduction of what is software assurance. We know that it comes free with a lot of the Microsoft donations that are procured through TechSoup. And so we'll go over what these things are, the cost reduction and benefits that come with it, with volume licensing, Service Center where you can access these benefits, and then we'll go into more detail over an overview of all the benefits that are included. We will cover some more advanced benefits that are included, but we are keeping those in our appendix. So if you are a tech consultant and you are the IT person at your organization, you may find that we aren't going to cover that in much detail, but you'll find more details at the end of the slide deck. And then we'll talk a little bit about whether it's to your benefit to renew software assurance at the end of 2 years, or whether it's best to just request a new software donation. So before we jump into that, who is TechSoup? If this is your first time joining us, TechSoup is part of TechSoup Global, and we're working towards the day when every nonprofit, library, and social benefit organization on the planet has the technology, knowledge, and resources they need to operate at their full potential. We are a nonprofit 501c3 organization, and we distribute technology donations from our partners like Microsoft, Adobe, Cisco, and Symantec around the world in 40 countries. So with that, I want to go ahead and start us off with a quick poll. So if you can take just a moment and click on which benefits of software assurance you've previously accessed as part of your donations. You can go ahead and take a minute. We'll let you read through these options, whether you've gotten free upgrades, whether you've upgraded your Pro version of software to an Enterprise Edition, if you've used the virtual desktop access or roaming use. We'll explain what these all mean later if you don't know what they mean. License mobility, if you've accessed any of the e-learning trainings, installed Microsoft Office on your home computer through software assurance, used any of the multi-language benefits, none of the above, or I don't know what any of these are. So that's what we're here today to hopefully get you up to speed on a bit more. So with that, we have most folks have had a chance to respond. So I'm going to go ahead and just give us a countdown, and I will go ahead and skip to the results. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So 39% of our users have done none of the above, and 25% of our participants today don't know what these are. So that's great that you're joining us. Hopefully we'll be able to get you more knowledgeable about this set of free benefits that come with your Microsoft software donations. It looks like the most folks in the webinar today who have used something have used it to upgrade to the latest software. And we'll get into more detail with that in just a moment. So with that, I'll go ahead and introduce us formally to Gregor Kneitz, who is a Senior Product Manager for Software Assurance at the Microsoft Corporation. So Gregor, we would love to have you join us on the line and get us started with explaining what is software assurance, and then we'll talk about how we get it. Welcome, Gregor.
Thank you very much, Becky, and thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you today about software assurance. And I think it's really great to have this poll at the beginning to really see what the interest is and the level is of people. So let's jump right in. What is software assurance? I'm glad I can start from that point, because often people really equate software assurance with just it's the new version right. It's the right to upgrade your software at any time. And also, as the poll showed, many of you are experienced with that. It is the predominant one. It's the very start of software assurance, how software assurance came to life. But today, software assurance over the last 12 years really has evolved into way more. It is a comprehensive package of help and services and rights that you can pair with the licenses that you own, and it makes your life around running software and owning software a lot easier. So that's the question that we ask ourselves at Microsoft is like, yes, it's great to bring the licenses and the software products to people, but what then? What is next? What are the problems that are there? What are the challenges with installing, deploying, and running those software packages? So that is what software assurance is there for. It's an assurance to make sure for your organizations that you don't just have the right software to solve problems, but you also have this package of benefits that makes it a lot easier and cost-effective to run that software within your organization.
That's great. And just to mention, software assurance is included with all of the donations of Microsoft programs through TechSoup, with the exception of the Get Genuine program. So if you are requesting stuff from Get Genuine, if you don't know what that means, we'll explain it a little bit later. But all of our upgrades and all of our server licenses, they come with software assurance. So this is included with almost everything that you get through the donation program. So with that, I'll let you get back to your slides.
Thank you, Becky. So this is just a quick overview of all of the benefits that you're receiving, and as was mentioned, the software assurance is included in almost all of the software, and these are all the benefits that you receive together with the software assurance on your software. They are grouped, and I'm not going to go through them one by one. We're going to talk a little bit later about specific benefits. I just wanted to show on that slide that it's really the comprehensiveness of the package is to guide you through the whole process of owning a software license. So it's not just running it. It is planning to have the right plans for your software, for your needs, what you actually want to have in place. The big challenge of deploying software, which is often in distributed areas, difficult to get the knowledge and the skills out with your organizational members to work with new software versions. And then just the general operational usage of software, how to make that as smooth and as easy as possible. So software assurance is meant to guide you and help you through all of these different phases. Why install or why use the software assurance benefits? We have a great study done because even in the commercial space where customers purchase software assurance, they purchase it sometimes just for one or two single benefits. So most of the time, again, the new version rights are the driving factor for the decision to purchase software assurance, but then all the other benefits are not really used because customers don't dive in there. So we did a study and we compared organizations who actually use the SA benefits they have versus the ones who do not use the SA benefits they're having. And as you can see here, regardless of whether you actually purchased software assurance or you got it granted through the donation, it makes a huge cost savings difference per year and per user. They determined it's over $300 of cost savings just running the software in your organization, because using the benefits and having all the trainings out in place, having all the administration and maintenance tools in place, and reducing the headache for your administrative staff to roll out the software has a huge impact on the cost. You can bring down your operational costs. Sometimes you can break it down in specific cost. Often it's really just the time and headaches for the drivers, for the software administrators, that you can drastically reduce by actually using the benefits, getting people trained, having the right maintenance and administration tools in place. So it's a strong argument for not just having one or two rights, but really looking in the whole portfolio of benefits that are available to you.
That's great, Gregor. And really, just to mention, somebody asked if SA equals software assurance. So just to clarify, that is, you'll see SA on the slides throughout the webinar, and that is software assurance. In regards to this slide, though, a lot of smaller organizations, nonprofits or libraries, might have a part-time IT person or a staff person who's their accidental techie who gets to be responsible for managing software even though they still have another full-time job. And software assurance can help bring down the amount of time that that person has to spend, or if you have a team of people, those people have to spend. And this is the kind of thing that is an overlooked benefit a lot of times by organizations because they don't realize that all of this is here and it's for free included in their donated software. So it's a great opportunity to reduce your organization's costs on managing your software. So with that, I'll hand it back to Gregor to show us a little bit.
Yeah, no, and I just want to add to your point, it is really a great point, because often when people are like the sole administrator, the one software person who is responsible for maintaining, installing, driving all the software rollout while still actually having a day job and doing something different as well, these people are often so busy that they say, oh, I don't really have time to look into these benefits, whereas if actually you would cut out time and start looking in the benefits and using them, that would free up a lot of space in the rest of your day, because the users would find answers right away, or the administration, you could do a lot of administrative tasks centrally and just one time instead of like for each of the machines. So it's definitely worth to look into the benefits.
Absolutely. And and the other area is we have a lot of training resources that are available through software assurance, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But just getting up to speed on how to use programs takes staff a lot of time. And if you don't realize that you can access all of these free trainings and e-learning courses to learn how to use the software at your fingertips, then that saves you from having to search the web for answers. So with that, I want to just have you tell us where do people access software assurance? Where do they find it?
There is one single point of entry that often provides, or will always provide, pretty much all the answers to the questions you have about software assurance, and that's the Volume Licensing Service Center. And there's a link to that at the end of the presentation, so you will also receive that. The VLSC, and sorry, Microsoft is a world of acronyms, so I'll try to keep them down as much as possible, but Volume Licensing Service Center is such a long name, so VLSC. The VLSC is the portal that gives you all the information around your licensing position and the benefits that you have. So let me just mark here for a second. If you look at the top, you have the licenses here. So all the licenses that you own, all the licenses that your organization holds, can be seen here in one comprehensive overview. All actions needed and taken with that you can execute here. Right next to it, sorry, I'll try to find the keys, the Downloads and Keys Center. Downloads and Keys provides you the link to the download site. So if you don't want the physical media, here you can find the downloads for the software that you're holding and the installation keys. So if you have one installation media and you're holding multiple licenses, here you can get the keys to install that software. And in the software assurance part, here's the Benefits Administration Center, where you can activate, work with, and administrate all of the software assurance benefits. At the entry point of the VLSC, you can also see there is a learning portal in the bottom right. So there's multiple videos around all the different ways how to use the center, how to administrate, how to perform the most important actions. There are also a great FAQ list that you can use. So this is pretty much the start point for everything around your licensing and the software assurance benefits. And I want to
Terrific. And
if
people can't see that screen, you can also click to view full screen at the top of your ReadyTalk screen so that you can see more detail of that screen and also the next one that's coming up that's a little bit smaller print.
Yes. So now I'm just jumping into the software benefits administration screen, and don't worry if you can't read everything on here. This really is just supposed to show you the concept. Right here you get the list of all of the benefits that you're entitled to, including the details of like how many entitlements you have, how many seats for e-learning you're holding, for example, how many Office Home Use Program called HUB you're entitled to, and all administrative information that you need, program codes, keys, download sites. If it's, for example, a version right that you have, you get the download site here as well directly. So this is the one administration point where if you're not sure what exactly you have, you can learn here. You can also find some more information about the benefits, but most of all, this is the administration point where you perform all of the administrative actions for your benefits. And
Terrific.
I just want to
go ahead.
I just wanted to give an example of what a walkthrough would look like when you're starting completely fresh, new. You just signed up for the VLSC with your new license with software assurance that you received, and you want to get started on one of the benefits. So this is just a quick step-by-step walkthrough. How do you actually go from just being having the benefit granted to having usage of that benefit? It's basically a 5-step process. It starts with the software assurance benefits administrator. That is a person you determine at the initial sign-up at the VLSC. It's the person who has the rights to basically distribute those benefits in the organization. They go in and they have to activate the benefit. Activation comes with different information given depending on the different benefits, so in terms of the home use program. And just if you don't know what the home use program is, we're going to talk a little bit later about more what home use program actually does. So here's just a walkthrough as an example how to activate it, but we're going to get to the nature of home use program in a little bit. So the software administration benefits administrator goes in and activates the HUB benefit. To activate, you have to give 2 pieces of information. You have to give your organization's domain name that is used for the email addresses of all the organizational members, and you have to generate a program code that will be generated for you. Next, those 2 pieces of information, the domain, which is naturally given anyhow, and that program code can then be sent out to organization members who want to use HUB and who should use HUB. They can take that information home on their home machines, access the HUB website from their home computers, enter their email addresses, so it has to be a valid email addresses that is the same that was given in the original definition, and the program code, and that logs them into the HUB website. There they can use their private credit card to pay the program fee, and that gives them access either to the download or to order an Office media. So then they can install Office on their home use machine and work with Office in parallel at home to their work machine.
Great, thank you. So this is a little bit complicated looking, but really this is just the way to get access to installing Office on your home computer because you have a valid license to use it in your office. This extends that access to your home machine. And when he mentioned the fees, we will talk a little bit about that later, but it's a pretty nominal fee, like $9.95 to be able to install it on your home machine.
Yeah. The big point is really here that just the basic concept that is true for all or most of the benefits, it starts with the benefits administrator, the one central person activating the benefit, providing information needed for the benefit, then distributing the information about the benefit within the organization, and then the users being able to go in and use the benefit. So those are basically the three major steps that always happen for each one of the benefits.
Terrific. And this is just an example of how to do it for this one benefit. And we put it in here so that when you get the slide deck later, after the webinar and the follow-up resources, if you want to try and do this, that you have these steps detailed out for you. And again, the Volume Licensing Service Center helps you walk through these steps. So with that, we can go ahead and jump into what all of the benefits are in a little bit more detail. We've mentioned some of them. And so Gregor is going to take us through the actual benefits with some descriptions. Some of it might sound a little technical. So if you're not the tech person and you're the decision maker or an executive director and you just kind of want to get the gist, you can ignore some of the technical terminology and just let the people who do your IT know that these benefits are there. Go find them. So with that, Gregor, I'll let you go ahead and take it over.
Tech lingo as much as possible.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Okay, let's just jump in with the highlights. As mentioned before, and also seen in the poll, new product version rights. That is the one central piece of software assurance. That is the right that pretty much determines that as long as you have software assurance on a software license you're holding, you're entitled to every upgrade Microsoft releases for that product. In practical terms, just as an example, that means if you're having a license for Office 2007 and Microsoft releases Office 2010 and you have active software assurance on your Office 2007 license, that means you're now licensed for Office 2010. There's typical questions around that. It's like, okay, when does it exactly kick in? How long does that last? Those licenses are, technical term, what we call perpetual. So that you will always own this license, and so is the upgrade. So you don't need to actually install the latest version of the software. It's enough to have software assurance at the point of time when a new version comes out. You can hold off even if software assurance expires at a later point of time. As long as you had it at the point of time when the new version came out, you're entitled to install that software at any point of time when you want to. And this is basically specific to the software with software assurance. So we can upgrade only the products that have software assurance. It's not for entire product families, for example.
Great. And Gregor, just because we know we get this question pretty frequently from people, but if you have a critical program that is only compatible with an older version of a software, can people use this benefit to also downgrade?
Yes, you also have, it's usually the latest or the last version. You can stay on the last version and you can even install and get the download bits also through VLSC of the latest version. So that is included in the licensing. You can just not run two in parallel. So you have to run either one or the other version. But the previous version is included as well, yes.
And just to be clear, hi, this is Cameron Jones with TechSoup. Previous older versions of software, those are not a feature of software assurance. Those are a feature of volume licensing. So even if your software assurance benefits have expired, you can still always access the previous versions of the software.
Yeah.
Terrific. We love getting free stuff.
So let's jump to the next one, Windows Enterprise. That's usually also a very popular experience with software assurance. Windows Enterprise is a special version of the Windows client software that is only and exclusively available under software assurance. So if you have a full Windows version that has software assurance on it, and usually that's Windows Professional, that entitles you now to use that different version, the Windows Enterprise version. The difference between the Windows Professional and the Windows Enterprise version are a lot of administration and security benefits that you will see. I listed a couple of them here. Direct access and branch cache are usually very, very valuable in distributed organizations. Direct access allows you from mobile machines, laptops, for example, to access your company IT environment from outside of that environment. And that can work without having to go through virtual connections, dial-ins, smart cards, all these usual technologies that you need to dial into your work environment. Direct access can basically set up a secure tunnel from an outside network into your network to enable you a smooth experience even when you're not in their network. Branch cache is very valuable in distributed organizations, especially when you have smaller organizations, just like 3, 4, 5 clients in each physical location, to have the syncing between those clients not really eat up too much bandwidth and have that cached smartly. Also, security benefits are included, BitLocker and AppLocker. BitLocker is a feature that allows you for laptops, but also desktop machines, to have the complete machine encrypted. That means even if a machine gets lost or stolen, it's virtually impossible to get to the data on that machine. While AppLocker keeps a strong administrative hand on what kind of applications get installed on machines. So you can basically keep your work machines clean and restrict very much what gets installed and not have the machines cluttered up by wildly installed software, to say. In addition, you also have access to MDOP. That means you can purchase MDOP on top. It's also an exclusive right for software assurance to have access to MDOP. I'm not going to go into more detail. The Microsoft Desktop Optimization Pack is a whole suite of products that enables remote administration and virtualization. So when you work with these features, MDOP is really valuable in your organization. Again, a little bit more of a technical slide. I'm not going to go too deep in the technologies. Just to say, there are virtual desktop access and the Office roaming user rights. It's the whole world of virtualization where you run your desktop with your work environment within your company. If you want to virtualize that environment, if you want to access that environment from every location outside of your organization, from personal machines, home machines, kiosk machines, hotel machines, you usually would need additional licensing. So you would need virtualization licenses to access some of these software components. All of these virtualization rights are included in software assurance. So once you have that office environment or that work environment under software assurance, you have all of these virtualization rights included. And that makes also running the software a lot easier. The corresponding part for the work environment with the back office is license mobility. So one of the big trends today obviously is virtualization, and more infrastructure gets actually moved from an on-premise in the office physical use of server products to a hosted environment where you're moving your servers from your office environment to an internet service provider or some kind of hosting service provider that is running your software for you, is doing the maintenance for you, and make those servers available globally throughout the internet. Again, there are licensing limitations for something like that. So if you do not have software assurance, you cannot just simply move a server license from your environment to a hosting provider. With software assurance, on the other side, this is possible. So if you have software assurance on your license that was granted to you on your server license, that will allow you to just move this license to a service provider. So if you go to a service provider, for example, for a database, and you want an internet-hosted database, they would usually charge you for the hosting plus for the server license again. But if you can show them you have a server license with software assurance, they will not charge you for that server again. So you can just move that right over. It's a huge cost saving in that environment.
Terrific. And I know those were fairly technical slides, but for IT folks or organizations that could really benefit from that, if you have a consultant who does your tech, if it's not somebody on staff, those benefits are really valuable, even if you don't realize it. So the things that people may use, that anybody can use, that might be a great way to get staff up to speed are some of these e-learning courses. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I promise now it gets easier. We are through the worst of the technical slides. But as you said, yes, the previous ones, especially around the virtualization. And usually you work with consultants, with outside companies to help you virtualize. Even if you're not quite sure what you're having with it, always make sure that you're telling them that you have software assurance on your products, because that also makes it for them easier to pinpoint and pick the exact rights that you want to use in that environment. So e-learning, obviously, it's quite obvious what e-learning is. Microsoft has over 1,500 hours of e-learning across the different product pools. The way you qualify for e-learning, again, is you're buying one of the Microsoft products with software assurance on top. That gives you access to the entire pool of that product. So for applications, for example, if you get granted a project, Microsoft project with software assurance on top, that gives you access to the complete applications pool. So all the Office, Visio, everything that we are having in the application pool, you can access through software assurance, through that grant. And then the other pools are systems and servers. So basically within those three pools, you can access all of the e-learnings in there.
Terrific. And you mentioned if you purchase it, and again, for our users who are getting it through the donation program, this comes included with the donations that you receive through Microsoft. So you can send a new staff person over to learn how to use the software that's just been installed on their machine and not have to dedicate your own staff time to do that kind of training. We also had a question from the chat asking whether there will be e-learning available for Windows 8.
Yes, definitely. So it's an ongoing process. We have an e-learning pool where we constantly bring in new trainings, new courses. So absolutely, yes, there will be Windows 8 training available through e-learning.
Terrific, thank you.
And also coming back to the cost savings from before, e-learning is really a key element in many different factors, because on the one side it makes the time spent on certain tasks so much more productive. So the higher the learning level is and the higher the skill level is of your organizational members, the faster tasks can be accomplished, but it's also a satisfaction part where basically just the whole work satisfaction goes up if you don't get frustrated because you cannot solve a specific problem. If you just know how to do things and if you just know how to use the software, this is really invaluable. And again, running the whole cost of running software, support cost, administration cost goes drastically down the more this e-learning benefit is leveraged in your organization.
Terrific.
And that brings us to home use programs. So we already talked a little bit before about the technicalities, how to run it. Now the real overview, what is the home use program? So if you have Microsoft Office suite, if you got granted the Office suite with software assurance, that entitles you to the home use program. And that means for each product, so for each license of Office that you got granted with software assurance, you're entitled for one home use license. So if you have 15 Office suites, you're entitled to 15 home use licenses. That means 15 members of your organization can install Office Professional 2010 or whatever the latest version is, in addition with language packs, but also Office for Mac, Visio project on their home machines for a very small nominal fee. So we went through the process how to activate it. You activate the benefit, you generate the code, you give the code to your organizational members, and they just can go on their home machine, go to the website, and for only $10, for $9.95 for download, or for $12 if they want the physical media, they can bring Office on their home machines and use Office without any limitation. It's a full Office license on their machine as long as your software assurance in the organization is active. So basically your Office license that you have in the organization together with the software assurance expands the licensing to this home use program. And I'm not going to wait for a question because usually there's a lot of questions around the hub, the home use program, but I think we're going to just address them in the question part. And there is just one last benefit I want to point out, and that is the multilingual environments. I just mentioned it here for the hub as well, but it's also an SA benefit. For Windows 8, it's now included in the standard license, but for Office, the multi-language pack is actually a product that you would have to purchase. It enables you to switch the language user interface completely for all of the Office applications. So if you have I don't know, for example, if you're operating in French-speaking Canada, you might want all of the machines to have English and French available, depending on what user is sitting at the machine. Usually that would need either you would need to buy two parallel licenses, acquire two parallel licenses, which is really wasting one license, or you would have to buy the multi-language pack or get a donation for the multi-language pack, which is also more complicated because I'm not sure that is on your list. You don't need to do all these things under software assurance. Software assurance grants you those multi-language packs directly. You can just install them on the machine, and there are 37 different languages. So even when you have, for example, kiosk machines in the non-profit space for non-English native speakers, you can pretty much offer all of the major 37 world languages on those machines, and with an easy UI, you just switch over and the complete UI of Office is switched into the other language.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
Proving tools, for example.
That's great.
And
so we've talked about a lot of great benefits, and we will answer a lot of the questions that have come in the chat, in the Q&A in just a few minutes. But first we want to go ahead and talk about the cost benefit of whether to renew software assurance or to request a new donation of a Microsoft program, since we know software assurance has that 2-year timeline. So we're going to bring Cameron Jones on, who's our program director here at TechSoup and works on our Microsoft donation program, just to talk a little bit about that. And then I promise we'll get to a lot of your questions in the Q&A after that. So welcome, Cameron.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. So one of the newest features of software assurance is that it can be renewed. And this is something that was added, I think, this spring for TechSoup donation recipients. And so we have a little information for you about what the process is, what the process involves if you want to renew your software assurance benefits after the initial 2-year period has expired. So benefits can only be renewed through a Microsoft reseller. In the United States, we have charity open licensing, and in other countries sometimes that's not available, and so organizations would go through commercial open licensing resellers. But in the United States, we would use a charity open licensing reseller, and those can be found on the Microsoft website, a list of those, and I'll get you a link for that in a moment. Renewals have to be completed before the expiration date for that given product. So renewals are done on a per product basis, or per license basis rather. And you have to renew a minimum of 5 licenses at a time when you go request that renewal. And renewals are granted for 2 years. So the expiration date you can find in VLST. That's available where you can view your licenses and your authorization number for each of your licenses. The cost to renew is approximately 1/3 of the fair market value of the product under the charity reseller pricing. So it tends to be a little bit more than the administration fee that TechSoup charges on a per product basis, but in some cases it's worth it to go the route of renewing rather than requesting new licenses. And I'll get into that in a moment. In order to begin your renewal process, you need the authorization number for the product that you wish to renew software assurance benefits on, the date of its the date of software assurance expiration, and a credit card number and an email address. And once you complete the process and confirm your renewal, it takes about 3 to 5 business days for that renewal to appear in volume licensing. So we actually went through this process here at TechSoup to test it out and see how it worked. And we went ahead and renewed the software assurance benefits on Office Professional Plus. 5 licenses was the minimum, so we renewed 5 licenses. The price that we were quoted was $47 per license, so our total came to $235 to renew the benefits for all 5 licenses. So the process that we went through is we selected a reseller from the Microsoft Open License Charities reseller list. which is there's a link here, and I believe we're providing that later in the presentation as well. We called them up and talked to a sales representative who quoted us a price for the renewal of the software assurance. We did a verbal confirmation on the phone and gave them a credit card number and an email address. And then they followed up with an email back to us confirming what we had requested and gave a total. And then we had to respond to that to say they could go ahead and charge the credit card for the amount listed on the invoice. And sure enough, the renewals showed up in our VLSC account 3 business days later, and we were all set to go. So it was a very easy, straightforward process for us. Now, of course, there is a cost difference, and depending on how many licenses you want to renew and what the given situation is, you may want to go ahead with software assurance renewal, or you may want to just request new licenses, which would automatically give you another 2 years of software assurance. So again, it depends on your situation. For the Office Pro Plus, if we were an organization and making a cost-based decision, we would probably go ahead and request new licenses because first, the cost is lower, our overall out-of-pocket cost is lower, and second of all, if we need to request fewer than 5 licenses, then we don't have to do the renewal on all 5. So some of the cases that in which you might want to renew software assurance, if there's a product that's no longer offered through the TechSoup catalog, no longer available for requesting additional licenses, you might want to go ahead and request software assurance in that case. Or if you have already used up your 50 license allotment for, say, Microsoft Office, and you need to renew those software assurance benefits, then you could do it through this program. So that covers the renewal questions, and I think, or the renewal process rather, and I think we move on to questions now.
Great. Thank you so much, Cameron, for taking the time to explain that. And again, renewing versus just requesting a new donation of a different program are for specific circumstances, most likely, like what Cameron mentioned. So if you need that option, we wanted to make sure that we explained how to do that since it's a new benefit available. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump into some questions. We've had some great ones come in. So Gregor, a lot of these are just for you, so we'll get you back on the line. So Pamela has asked, does e-learning track the online classes that you've attended? How do you know if you're using up your allotment or your hours of that?
E-learning doesn't really measure the number of courses. So you have unlimited hours or unlimited number of courses. The allotment is really the number of seats that you're getting or the number of user IDs you're getting.
Great. Thank you so much. So we had a question, and I'm not sure if this is one that you can necessarily answer. Maybe Cameron could answer this. Charlene asked, she's from libraries, and how does this work for the library donations with the requirement that the software is only installed on patron computers? So how does home use work if you have licenses that are intended for the computers that patrons would use in a public computing center or a library setting?
Maybe Cameron can jump in. I'm not specifically sure about this, but I assume so the licenses you get granted get used within the library. So you would still have a one-to-one entitlement, but the entitlement for a hub would then only be for employees of the library.
Yeah, let me clarify this. This is Cameron from TechSoup. So libraries, as those of you who are librarians on the line know, have a special use case for Microsoft software donations in that the software can only be installed on public access computers. So to be honest, I'm not entirely sure what the home use policy would be on that because the computers are specifically for public access, so I assume the home use benefit would not apply. But we will dig into the details on that and get that answer posted. I guess we're doing follow-up answer posts on the forums. Is that right, Becky? Yes, Becky is saying yes.
Yes, we will. Yep, so we'll try and follow up on that and get more details about whether there is a home use ability for licenses that are intended for public computing settings. Another question, Gregor, you can probably address this one from Linda. She's asking, what happens if employees who use home licenses leave the organization? Or what happens when that software assurance period expires and they've got it installed on their home computer?
Yeah, the answer to both is the same. The moment that they are not under license anymore, they have to remove the software from their computer. So if an organization member leaves the organization, as I said, the actual license still stays with the organization. So home use program is just an expansion of that license to the home user, but only for as long as that home user is part of the organization. When someone leaves the organization, they are not licensed any longer. They have to delete the software from their computer. And the same goes if SA expires and it's not renewed or you don't get a new grant for that. It's the same case. There is no longer a home use license anymore, so the user has to delete the software from their computers.
Great. Thank you so much for clarifying that. We also have some questions from people asking about, will they get a notification when new software becomes available or when new programs are released that they can upgrade to, or do they just kind of have to watch for that themselves? And I'm pretty sure that they just have to kind of watch for it, but let me know if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, no, I don't think VLSC at the moment is sending out notifications, but with Microsoft being a rather big software company, usually there are one or the other headline, or we try to put a couple of TV commercials out when we have new versions of our major software. So usually you hear about it.
Great, and we also do. So if there are new editions or new versions of software that are coming out that are available in the donation program, if you aren't currently signed up for one of our newsletters like Buy the Cup or the New Product Alert, it's a great place to hear about what's brand new. And if that's something that you already have access to in an older version, then jump right into your Volume Licensing Center to see if it is eligible for that upgrade.
Yep, and in general it's always a good idea to occasionally just look in the VLSC.
Exactly. So this is a question for Cameron. We did answer it in the chat directly, but other people may be wondering this as well. So are the programs that are available through the donation program here at TechSoup, are those full versions, or are these donations diminished in any way or less valuable than sort of the retail versions of them? And because they include this software assurance, people are kind of wondering, what's the catch?
Oh no, there's no catch. Absolutely no catch. The products that are distributed through the TechSoup Microsoft donation program are all complete versions. They're the same as what you would purchase commercially through any other channel. The difference is that these are better because they come with software assurance, because the donations that you're receiving are open license products. And so it's just a separate type of licensing, but it's the channel that Microsoft has chosen to use for software donations. And so you get full legitimate versions of the software plus all these extra benefits that are usually mostly reserved for large corporations.
Great, thank you. So we also had a question from somebody asking, what size organization does it make the most sense to use these software assurance benefits? And if you're a little two-person office, does it make sense for you to try and access software assurance, or do you need to have 20 workstations or 50 workstations? What makes the most sense?
I would say it starts pretty much by one machine to make sense. Not all benefits obviously equally, because if you have only one office, or if that is even a home office, if you're running a super small charity, you have one office and that is your home office, you don't have distributed computing, you don't have a back office server, you don't have an Exchange server or SQL server. A lot of the license mobility and virtualization rights wouldn't really make sense to you. But the new version right, so to just being able to upgrade to the new version without seeking a new donation, using the latest technology, accessing e-learning, these things make absolute sense, I would say, for any size organization. So it starts at one desktop. It's just in a different grouping. Some of the deployment benefits and virtualization benefits, I would say, yes, they kick in with larger organization, but it's not so much the size. I would say it's more the structure of the organization that determines which benefits are most valuable. So whether you are in one geographic location, whether you have people more traveling around, working from home, different location, I think that determines more what benefits are more valuable to the organization than others than the size.
Great. Yeah, and I would agree with that too. When you mentioned distributed organizations earlier, when you were talking about some of the more technical benefits of software assurance, I know a lot of smaller organizations might have 2 people in an office in one city and 2 people in an office in another city, and some of those features that might actually be what we would consider more technical might actually be really beneficial to that organization. And so, and obviously things like the e-learning courses, I think I would personally benefit from doing some of those on my end. So I think any of us could benefit from those kind of things. So we also have a question, and I'm not sure if this is something that you can address, but Cynthia was asking that she had talked to a vendor who was trying to sell SharePoint training, and she was told that sometimes Microsoft offers training vouchers. And is that different from kind of the e-learning stuff that's available through software assurance? You know anything about that, Gregor?
Yes, absolutely. So software assurance has different benefits for different types of programs, but under open we don't have the training vouchers. So training vouchers, it's a different benefit for large organization licensing under Select and under platform deals like enterprise agreements, and they would then entitle to actually classroom trainings. So that's the difference. Training vouchers entitled for classroom training for a training provider. E-learning entitled for connecting to our e-learning servers.
Terrific. Thank you for addressing that. I didn't know about the vouchers, so that was news to me. So there are some questions about the 2-year window and what that means exactly. Is that from when you receive the donation? Is that from when you get the license key? Is that from when you install it on your computer? How does that timeline work?
It's usually the moment you receive the donation, and again I look to Cameron to jump in because she knows more about the actual mechanics of the charity donations, but your licensing actually starts from the moment you receive that license, regardless of whether you install and use the license or not. So that's usually when the 2-year window starts.
Terrific. We also had somebody who asked if they could upgrade from XP to Windows 8, or is that something that it all depends on the dates as well? Or assuming that they had acquired XP fairly recently, they would be eligible. Is that correct?
Theoretically, yes, but looking at the 2-year window, it's not really it's an unlikely scenario that you recently acquired it. What is possible is if you actually got an XP donation back when XP was current, and you always either renewed or got new SA donations, so you kept your SA active. You acquired all of the licenses, all of the upgrade licenses with the different Windows versions throughout the evolution and just never installed them. So that is actually still possible. So then, yes, you have the upgrade right. And here I have to say, I'm not sure technically whether you can directly upgrade from Windows XP to Windows 8. You might have to do a stepstone thing where you have to go to Windows 7 and then to Windows 8, or might have to reinstall. But from a licensing point, yes, it doesn't really matter. As long as you have Windows client, no matter what version, under software assurance, you are licensed to the latest version. So there is no boundary to that.
Hi, this is Cameron. And to clarify a little bit, so XP is a product that we do still carry and have been carrying in the TechSoup catalog for quite a while. So again, to reiterate Gregor's point that if you are running XP and you requested that within the last 2 years, or if you have current software assurance benefits on your operating system license, then you can go ahead and go into VLSC and download Windows 8. And the download process for Windows 8 from XP, that upgrade process is a little complicated, and we have some articles on our website about that and how you approach that, but it's certainly possible. So again, it depends on whether your software assurance benefits are current or not. And again, you can see the expiration date for your software assurance benefits on a given license in your VLSC account.
Great. Thank you, Cameron. We also have a question, so I'm going to keep you on the line, Cameron. We have a question about the one-time software for original install, which is the Get Genuine program here. And if it would be helpful for our users to understand what the difference is, because we have upgrades that are included in software assurance, or that include software assurance, but our Get Genuine program is that one-time only thing, and it doesn't. So can you talk a little bit about what that's used for, Cameron, and how that works?
Sure. So our Windows operating system Get Genuine products are a special exception to the rule that Microsoft is only permitted to donate upgrade products. And the Get Genuine products stem from the need for some nonprofits to be able to access a full base operating system and not just the upgrade. And some of those cases are because they may have pirated software on their systems. They may have received a donation of a used computer that has been wiped clean, or they may be on like a home version of Windows operating system that is not eligible for a TechSoup upgrade, Windows upgrade product. So we have the Get Genuine products, and the idea behind those is that nonprofits, should be on legitimate Microsoft operating systems, and so those, once you get, you get Genuine, you get on a legitimate base operating system, then you can go ahead and request the upgrades through the TechSoup program. I think does that answer the question? Does that? Additionally, so the Get Genuine products do not come with software assurance benefits for that reason, and that they are kind of the special category of products. So the idea is that if you get on a genuine version of Microsoft Office, then you'll be able to go ahead and get the upgrade products, and with those you'll get software assurance.
Great. Thank you for that explanation. And I know when I worked at small nonprofits, we often would go to Best Buy and buy our computers, and they almost always had a home version of an operating system, and we'd always wonder why we didn't have these professional versions available to us. And so now the Get Genuine program allows that one-time request to make that transition to a professional licensed legal version. So with that, I'm going to start us wrapping up since we only have a couple minutes left here. And this slide here that we're still looking at shows where you can ask more questions and continue to talk to us about this in our community forums. So please join us there after this webinar is over to have any other questions discussed. So we have a list of some resources here that were mentioned in the webinar, links to software assurance on Microsoft's site and also on the TechSoup site, information about our donation program, a guide to the Microsoft Volume Licensing Service Center, and information about restrictions and eligibility. Gregor has also included some slides that we're considering the appendix here that go into some more detail about the software assurance program. We're not going to go through them right now, but we wanted to make sure that they're there because they do talk more about some of those more technical programs like the Microsoft Desktop Optimization Pack and some of those benefits. So we included them here. System Center Advisor is another one. So we want to make sure that you have all of the information that you need to access all of these benefits that are included with your donation program. We hope that you'll make use of them because they are there and they are free to you to use, provided that you meet the software assurance timeline requirements and whatnot. So we hope that you'll go ahead and do a little bit more digging around to see what you can benefit most from at your organization. With that, I would like to thank our speakers. Thank you so much, Gregor, for joining us from Microsoft. Thank you, Cameron, for taking time out today to talk to us about the product donation program some. And thank you to Brenda, William, and Gretchen on the back end who helped field questions for us throughout the webinar. Again, we hope that you'll join us in our forums to continue the discussion, and we thank you for joining us today. Thanks so much.